crossing is operating and the buzzer to wake me up.
And all the traffic comes to a glorious standstill.
Lunchtime this all gets interesting when we have this departing at the same time as we've got two FR trains moving and running around at the station. And the last coach clears the crossing. Cancel crossing. Just that time and something else normally happens. Same arriving empty stock from Boston Lodge going into the FR platform. So first of all I clear signal 4, then signal 10, and then signal 12, which is the trident signal, the main arm to bring the train in. Here's an L frame, miniature lever frame, all electric lock. There's no mechanical locking in it. So where on most lever frames, especially full-size lever frames, there's mechanical locking between the levers. On this frame, all the locking between the levers is done electrically. It's a 12 lever frame, part of the frame from Darlington North, which is a very big frame. We got donated it by Peter Burke. Actually turns out that it was 3 separate bits of the frame. The top bit, the front bit and the back bit were from different parts of the frame. But it's made by Westinghouse and it's made out of constructed parts, so it's kind of like a giant Lego set. You can assemble it in whatever configuration you want. So as on any normal lever frame, the red levers are the signal levers, the black levers the point levers, and then we have one brown lever which is for releasing what we call Spooner's ground frame down at Spooner's. The points here are all electrically worked. And the points down outside Spooner's are so far from the box and with people on the platform and trains in the platform, there's no way whether we could see anyone standing in the points. So the points down there are worked by the loco crew and we just give a release to the ground frame. We've got all 12 levers in use on the frame. Normally with one of these L frames, the last lever has to be spare because for each lever you've got a set of rotating electrical contacts. So the electrical contacts for lever 1 come in space between levers 1 and 2 and so on. So the contacts for lever 12 would normally be there. There isn't a space there. So we had to frig it a bit and actually the contacts for lever 12 are those that would normally be operated by lever 11 at the back of the frame. A bit of mechanical frigging. Even so, we didn't quite have enough levers for what we wanted. So the signal, well it's not really a signal, but for Welsh Highland trains coming in, we've got an acceptance switch, which if we had more levers we'd have done with a lever. But that controls trains coming into the station from the Welsh Highland Railway. And we've got a couple of other functions on here. There's an indicator that gives permission for locos to come up from the water tower, either up 2 road or 3 road. We've got an opening closing switch, which in true Ffestiniog fashion is unmanned or signalman, which replicates the metal flat boards that we used to have at places like Newport, Tannerville and Rugog, which displayed a U when there was no signalman there, or an S when there was a signalman there. And then we've got a set of routing indicators that show which way the points are set, because some of these levers, like number 12, operates 3 levers on the trident, Signal 10 has got 4 routes on it, all operated by one lever. So you know which way the train is coming in. We've got these set of routing indications that indicate either the train is going into the Welsh Highland loop, or the points are set for the Welsh Highland platform, or the FR platform, or for the yard. So before we pull any of these signal levers, the first thing we do is check that we've actually got the correct route set up. These miniature L frames were largely used by the Southern and the LMS. They were the 2 big users of them. I say this came from Darlington North. That was the one and only L frame that the LNER used. The Southern and the LMS had slightly different ways of using them, so we used a bit of mix and match, but kind of best practice from both. So this kind of routing indication is something that the LMS typically went in for. Behind each lever we've got some indications. So for the points we've got an N or an R indication, show whether the points are normal and reverse. For the signals we've got some indications to show whether the signal is on, red, or off, green if it's a main switch signal, or white if it's a shunt signal. And above them we've got at the top a set of free lights. So if the free light is lit, that indicates that the lever is free to be pulled. If it's not lit, then the lever isn't free to be pulled. So currently with the route set to come into the FR platform and the signal's off, virtually all the levers are locked. The only thing that isn't unlocked is the release for Spooner's ground frame at the far end of the Welsh Highland platform. Normally on an L frame, these free lights only indicated the electrical locking, the track circuit locking, and other kind of electrical releases like that. To make this frame more kind of user friendly, particularly as occasionally when there's no signalman here it will be used by loco crew. On this frame, the free light also indicates the equivalent of the mechanical locking as well. Normally on a lever frame, the signalman is expected to know the mechanical locking, but we thought to make it more user-friendly for loco crew and the like. So the free light indicates not just the electrical releases, but also the lever-to-lever locking. Okay, and at the top of the frame, we've got a professionally made signal box diagram. This was made for us by Mark Colton, who makes or used to make signal box diagrams for Network Rail. So it is a professionally made signal box diagram. He didn't wire it up for us, but he did everything else for us. So we're quite pleased with that.
You've got all the block instruments for the various sections of railway. This is our main semi-terminus of the railway. So the Ffestiniog Railway terminates here and the Welsh Highland Railway terminates here. But also because both lines are connected together through platform 2, it's sort of, you can do through trains. So it's a bit of a, we've got a terminal platform and a through platform effectively. So the block sections are controlled by electronic token block. Then you've got the ETS instrument, which runs to Minthorpe, which is the next section, and the one to Pontycroeso, which is the next section on the Welsh Highland line. The starter releases are that for the Welsh Highland Railway, you take the staff, and then there's a token key switch which operates the level crossing, and the level crossing is effectively the starting signal for that section. For the Ffestiniog, there's an advanced starter part the way down the cob, and that's released by a old style railway signal company draw lock. So staff in the draw, and then that clears some tappet locking inside, and then you slide in and out, and that releases the advanced starter, which is indicated on this indicator here, which was donated to us and is a lovely thing. That is also interlocked with the platform starter of the Ffestiniog Railway Signal 1, so you can't get Signal 1 without the advanced starter being off. The controls for the ETS are this is traditional oversaw copper network communication. So there is overhead cadmium copper lines from Boston Lodge to Minforth, and there's underground cable across the Cobb. And then, rather it being signalman operated, because the FRs always disliked signalmen because they are difficult to get and expensive. So as much as possible, the railway is designed for train crew working. So can I wind your remote operator? Yes. So you wind the remote operator, and it gives you an indication as to the state of the sections. It's locked at the moment. And that's how we've done it for the last, let's call it umpteen years. And then the instrument for the Welsh Highland Railway to Porthmadog is effectively the same style and principle of operation. It's just the communication between here and the next block post is digital using a system called micro ETS. But so it's got a sort of push button panel instead. So if you press that button,
3 seconds.
is it 3 seconds? It's been a while since I had to do this. And it's not saying anything at the moment. Do I need to press it again? Or vibrate?
Wait,
There you go. There you go.
Something broken. It should say line blocked. See if the train's just left with a
It should say line blocked, but it isn't. There's a communication error on that section. So this is the repeater panel for the micro ETS system.
Just take the phone out of the way.
If I go there, I can get around it.
We'll deal with this in the edit.
So you have. Is it Tanya Bulk?
That's Tannaborg and Minthorpe. Those are the repeater panels for the automatic stations.
Right.
So that's a traditional RRI system, but Tim, when he was a student, built a monitoring system for which he's then built a server-based version of the software, so you can actually see what's going on. You can play it back, so for fault finding it's helpful.
So those are just the mimics of what's happening. So when the boxes are open there, you can see everything
they don't have to be open. It's literally the station works itself.
Ah, right.
It's worked off track circuit operation and removal of the staff.
Right.
And it's there for the 1980s. They're extraordinarily clever.
I'm going to say.
And then this is what micro ETS is doing as far as RIDV. That's the token sections of the Welsh Highland. Because it's a digital system, you can build a monitoring system into it. Other things to draw your attention to on the block shelf. This is an override key for Britannia Bridge, which there's a train struck in. In the event of a fault with Britannia Bridge, you can basically override the track circuit. And then there's a relay room power indicator, and this puts the advanced starter back. You can also put the advanced starter back by putting the staff back into the instrument. It puts the signals back. And you can also do it if you're trying to token balance while the train's trying to leave. So we don't do that.
So that's showing section occupancy, but it's also showing the signals at the.
That's showing the signals at Bev-Gellert and at Pontcroy, so they're danger at the moment.
So these are the signals that were technically coming into the other track, and those are the 2 tracks showing out. Yeah.
Yes. They are slightly odd symbols because the ladybird symbols are a red light top and bottom.
Yes. So that's showing you that
There's some communication.
error on one of the 2 pairs, and the caution is
I suspect that means that it's lost communication.
comms for a bit, right?
So let's hope that there's not a train that wants to come back and use that section. Otherwise, Tim's going to be getting the magic key out and doing things. No.
Back on the inside. Phone control to let them know that it's back in. Signalbox, Minforth tokens back in. Thank you. Cheers.
Right.
So the Ian Smith, who was a locking fitter at Lime Street, did the locking testing on this, so we know it's right. And all the lamp units are the original. They've got LEDs in instead. It's a challenge because it's all been done in A2 because you use modern cabling on frames now, but none of the terminals anywhere in this blooming frame were designed for it, so it's an absolute nightmare to wire. But I didn't have to do that bit. That was Tim and Hazel.
See what you mean about having
also
to
got
sit
the-
the contacts on the end. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to take a look? I'm not going down there.
You know, you might stay there.
Peter said we don't have both electric locks that you'd normally have on the frame. You'd normally have the track specific lock and the interlocking lock.
Yeah.
And the interlocking lock would be in a red can to show that because they used to have somebody in the box who could go and release the track circuit lock in the event of a problem, but the red can said that's the interlocking lock, you can't pick that. We decided, as when we went to having just one lock, we wouldn't fit the red cans to them because it's already in a lock cupboard that only S&T can get to. And if you do have to pick a lock and disarrange, you're talking to control the A-class controller anyway, so what's the problem?
To set the points for the Welsh Highland platform, we've got detection on them, at 10 and 12.
This was the guy who came up with this was a guy called Alan Skellen, who was one of the S&T staff here for many years. He started on the project, and unfortunately he died right at the beginning, which was terrible and inconvenient because we had to do a lot more work because he had so much expertise that we could have brought to the thing. He died really tragically when for want of a carbon monoxide detector. It was really very sad. So this is sort of, I like to think of this frame as actually being, we're going to get a brass plaque for it, I've just never got round to it, which is stupid really. But this is sort of a memory to him because he was the prime mover behind this, and when he died it became Peter who did an awful lot of the work and an awful lot of the painting, and in fact quite a lot of the frame existed in his garage for a very long period of time.
Well, Alan was refurbishing. Cobwebs here. Alan was refurbishing the frame in the workshop or one of the sheds over at Boston Lodge, but it wasn't very watertight. It wasn't very warm. Didn't have much good lighting. So he took over my garage in Porthmadog. I was just round the corner from him. Got heating and lighting and whatever. So that was quite fortuitous. He'd got to the stage where he totally disassembled the frame and had started refurbishing some of the pieces when unfortunately he died. So I took over the rebuilding of the frame after that, all done in my garage.
Mr. Wilson.
Draw lock. Leave it open there so I don't lose it. Check the starters cleared. And they clear the starter signals.
Would you mind terribly if I slightly corrected you there, Sam? Check the starter should have cleared. It doesn't tell you it actually has.
So there's the train coming into
That's on the webcam. It's on the CCTV as well.
Ffestiniog cons.
Follows on Signalbox as well.
we do playback, there should be a train arriving.
Oh, yeah, you just see them come over the end.
That's it. Step through the playback, you can see the home signal clear, the train runs into the station.